Look at this guy. Ladies and gentlemen, episode 59 of the Cathode Ray Podcast. I'm here with Zen Master Steve Nutter in the haven, in the heaven of CRTs, with the beautiful CRT wall behind him. My name is Louis Zezeran, broadcasting to you from Estonia. It's a bit of a grey old day here, but Steve, it's been a while. Good to see you, mate.
That's right, man. It has been quite a length of time. Got a new studio here.
Yeah, man.
A lot of things going on.
So you're doing this show 2 times a week. What the fuck does Steve talk about for an hour and a half twice a week?
You know, you got a new thing going, so I didn't have anybody else to talk to for
sorry, bro.
2 hours every week. So I had to go and just shout at the camera myself with no one to look at besides myself and my dog anymore. So, but yeah, it's there's actually some fun segments that have kind of been created for the show that I've actually made, and you know, we're about like 5 episodes in, but I've got a segment where I tell some dad jokes. That seems to be, I don't know whether that's popular or unpopular, but it's definitely cringy. So that seems to get a lot of feedback. I'm still doing this segment I called Who Watches the Watchmen, where it's usually some secret information behind the scenes that I either try to find or debunk within this tech working field. It's just usually interesting things. It's like incorrect. Like one of them was about the incorrect methods of adjusting geometry done wrong.
Debunking
and found out.
the
Right,
CRT urban
debunking
myths.
my own stuff
Yeah.
from early on, and then
Oh, that must be good. Hey, who's this idiot's video? This guy doesn't know nothing. Early Steve
what
Nutter.
happens. So there's that. Those 2 segments.
Nice.
Then usually it's into something technical. Like last couple episodes, we've been working through this CRT, which I still have right here, which is this little Sony.
It's beautiful. Look at that.
It's a 8-inch consumer set, NTSC white from early 90s. Got this cool handle right
What
here.
were the mods you were doing to
retractable.
that? What was it? S? Sorry, did you say
Okay.
S video? Tell us about
Yes,
that.
yes. So this did have to get restored. There was a few bad capacitors in it that had erupted. So thankfully we got it going. And the funny thing was there wasn't a single issue with the set, even with that. But so that all had to be done, and then I added S video back here.
Oh yeah,
Right
there.
there.
It is.
There's
Okay.
the little input, and it's pretty clean. There's not a lot of space. It's very tight to add it there. That's like the only spot.
It's not
and
quite focused on that.
Yeah,
That's all right.
sorry.
You got it.
It's going to be
No,
hard
no,
to
you're
see that, but it's just an S video input on the back. There.
Okay, that's right. How hard was it to tap S video?
Oh, it was
internally?
actually quite simple. That's what I was going to talk about for a
It was
second.
there, was it?
It was.
Yeah.
No, it's so interesting. This is. Excuse me. It's from the mod information came from the CRT database.
Beautiful, Andy. Love
King,
it.
and so you had the manual there, and then just a couple pictures. It's a super simple modification because you don't have to add a single like resistor or capacitor or anything. You're just literally running 3 lines from points on this circuit board of this TV over to eventually the S video connector. So you've got one for ground, one for chroma, and one for luma. Okay.
Sure.
And if you break that down on this modification a little more, you're getting the chrome or the luma, and the luma cable is connected to the composite video input. The luma cable is. That's where you weld that or solder that and then run it to the luma input. Okay.
Okay.
The chroma input, there's a spot on the board where you get past where you can then inject. Andy found a spot you can inject chroma into this point on the board, and it will go in and register the chroma through that path. Okay. And Normally, you may have to do something to get around, I guess. You would think about comb filtering or things that are done through the composite video, but what you're actually doing here is you're using that composite video input as your luma and then your sync also. So that's always got to be a composite sync. It's on that. And then the chroma is being sent in a spot where it's not getting that, filtering in. So it's just bypassing pretty much all the comb filtering from what I believe and understand from it. So it's literally just soldering those 3 points and away you go with adding the S-video.
Interesting. So was there any... so you're channeling off the composite line. So where the composite usually goes in, you're piping luma into that. And then we're attaching a separate point, which is the chroma. How do you... switch to that, or it's just
this is super
composite?
Interesting. It doesn't you don't have to do anything. So this set doesn't actually have an on-screen menu, so it's all adjusted with like potentiometers and things like that, like an older early 90s PVM. And that's probably the reason you can't add RGB to it. It's not capable of RGB from what I understand. And so you're since there's no menu, you literally are just using that same input line, and then whatever if it's on video input mode on the input, because there's only one input on this set, you got input and an RF. So whatever you're feeding into that input line will just display on the screen. So you can plug in composite to the composite in, and you can plug in S-video to the S-video in. But the issue you still have is there's only one input for audio if you want to use the little speaker, because it's mono audio. So you still have to probably Y in a connector with mono audio if you want to use just the TV. But you can literally, all you do is put whatever source you send into it, it's going to display. I didn't try to send like both at the same time. I think that'd probably be dumb.
Sure.
But it doesn't like disable any functionality. There's no switch needed on it. You're just sending it straight into the same video line. And so it's very simple. I really haven't ever seen one that's that simple, where it's just, you just populate S-video through 2 ports and a couple, like that, without adding a whole different circuit.
So we're sending in the first signal, which is luma, which is the composite without the color info. It's getting piped in. Something's happening. And then somewhere along the line, Andy found this point, which now injects the chroma into that as well. And it's
I'm guessing it's still,
that.
On the color path somewhere where it's like you're going beyond the probably the comb filtering and everything, and just a spot where the chroma probably is like raw chroma, maybe on that, I don't know.
And can you see a difference of the S-video over the composite on the set?
Yeah, you can. I posted some screenshots on my Twitter page where you could actually see a little bit different. Let me see if I can pull that up actually and show you those pictures.
Right, it's very interesting. So maybe is it that the chrome is not going through the comb filtering?
See how it looks. Yeah, we'll see how it looks on this screen. So let me go over here and we'll click share screens.
There we go.
Let's see here. This one. There we go. And okay. And I don't know why it's... Oh, there we go. Okay. For some reason that's... Oh, there we go. I'm hitting the wrong button. All right. There we go.
Got it.
Sorry for that second. Yeah. All right. This is the set, the picture.
Yep.
And so let's go through here and show these replies. This is where it will all be. So this is the comparison kind of here. Let's see. That is... It's not probably the greatest to see on this screen, but this is composite, and this would be S-video. So,
all right, even in this you can see a difference.
Just even this, you can see like a sharpness bump, right?
Yeah.
And this isn't a great picture by any means. This was a cell phone camera taking a shot of this. Yeah. It's definitely like the face is a softer image, sharper image there, and let's see. Like I said, all you have to do is tap into it and check it out. I even put RF into it with.
What's that? Oh, that's the antenna on the end, is it? The X?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
yes.
And then this was another thing I had worked on was this RF reflex.
Very exciting device.
And I did a video about that too. And you could, I mean, it's very good. Like it's pretty darn close to that composite image there with that dongle.
And just to be clear, it's a great device, and I also believe great RF is almost the same. Can you see a difference between the RF and the composite, or it's too close to call?
No, I mean, I don't see any noticeable difference. It's hard to say because you can't technically use composite, right? Like, what am I trying to say here? Like the TVs that you're using this RF device on, they're only RF usually. So you can't go and say, well, how does composite look on it? Because you can't feed in straight composite, but you can like use composite on a TV and then use this if it has composite, say, actually it does look good. So I noticed too that, when I use my old adapters for RF on those TVs, I still get a lot of interference.
Even in your place?
Even in my place. And it could be a lot to do with those old RF devices probably not being so good anymore. And
okay, yes.
But I never got any RF signal interference with this thing.
Sure, I can imagine. So we've got a modern device designed by PorkChop Express. It's probably got shielding inside of that. The cable that you're using to get to the TV itself would be nicely shielded as well.
There it is.
So I can completely imagine that it's not as it is actually a lot of the old hardware that was causing the interference problem. But that's great, man. I've done some informal tests because when you are trying to compare RF to composite, as you say, you need television that supports both so you can flick back and forth and kind of see. But when I've had good RF, I haven't been able to tell the difference to composite. And I'm just using an eyeball test. We're all not Bob McNeil's here analyzing every pixel and blowing it up. And I just mean with the good old eyesight test, I couldn't eyeball any differences when I had RF set up well. So that's really nice, man, that device. How much did that unit cost?
So this is going to be $40 when it's ready, and it has a much nicer case. This was a prototype that he sent me back in, like, goodness, I want to say June. And I used it. It worked fine, and it was quite interesting. I had this whole other idea for a video on it with a script written, but it was just going to be so hard to shoot this script the script was absurd, Lewis. I mean, the script was raunchy, absurd, and I know it just would have failed anyway, but my plan was to do a whole prison. We talked about this before we got on live. A whole prison shtick with it.
Okay, yeah.
Where it was like, this device is so great because you could only have these crappy RF only TVs like I have here. That's the prison TV that's been in jail, the clear one. And I was like, oh, I could set that thing up and make it look like a jail cell. And then like the hardcore pod bosses being like, yo, Fresh Fish, did you hoop in that item we needed? And I don't know if you know what hooping means, but it's a creative way of sneaking items in. And then I was like, oh, man, yeah, I got it. Like me, having to extract the item from the shower scenes. And
I like
you can just imagine where all this
complex plot. We need a plot writer in here to get this. We've got characters happening. We've got growth.
I even sent the script to Bob, and I was like, you think this is too nasty, Bob? And he was just so busy. He's like, oh, whatever. Who cares?
He's sitting on there on the golden retro throne. It's very tough when he's so high up.
With the so anyway, but yeah, the script was completely unhinged and completely you talk about hard to shoot. It would have been me playing 4 different parts, but I was literally thinking of, like I got this 60s style shower upstairs. I was like, I'm gonna go shoot this in the shower because it's all like tiled behind me. I was like, I even have the good set. here to try to pull this off, but setting these things up and trying to shoot this by yourself is not as easy as you think.
It's a lot more work than it seems, but good on you because you actually wrote a script down. This is great. Doesn't matter that you didn't film it now.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Doesn't maybe you'll never ever use that script, but you took the time to prepare, and it's more than fucking 90% of people do. All right, that you made a little plan. You'll use that later. This is very good. So you're getting there.
I'm using that now.
Don't, it's good to not dismiss your big ideas, Stephen. Let them flourish. It's good.
No.
Just go down.
So yeah, if I ever get like somebody skilled enough, maybe I'll have some sketch comedy like that for the live show.
Something like that.
That'd be a good place to have that because it's like it just disappears into the ether after a while.
Yeah,
and nobody goes back.
I
and,
like that,
looks
man.
at
So
it.
you don't have like, I don't know. I sit around in the afternoon, I get tired, and so you don't have any qualms about turning on the live stream camera. How do you feel about that? Does it give you anxiety? Are you worried?
Not so much anymore. I guess I did originally kind of over that period, the last couple of months before. You know, I think the hardest thing about it is like I want to live stream a couple times a week. I have the ability to. I have the equipment. I set it up like this finally, you know. And the thing is now it's so easy because I could just go in, click the button. What I really needed was more of a structure to it for the audience, I felt like. And like for myself to say, okay, well, let's plan to do it like this. And it's not going to intersect with my other scheduling because it will become part of the schedule. And there are going to be things I'm actually working on that I can bring and talk about here as opposed for an hour. And I think it's beneficial. I think it's helpful, but it is, I don't know, personally, I'm fortunate that I think doing this a lot with you, obviously, all this stuff is kind of prepped up to this point.
We're all, yeah.
If this was like the first live show I'd ever done, I mean, of course I'd be nervous, but I think I did. I think before I even started the show, man, I've done 30-something streams this year that were just, you know, once, twice a week, popping in at random times.
Right.
And there was no real structure to it. So I thought, well, will having a structure to it help? So that's what I'm trying now is give it a show title called The Bunker.
Yes, is the answer, all that. And this is great because you learnt some skills. You didn't, I really like this strategy because you didn't make a big fuss to begin with. It's not like, here's the show, here's my commitment. You just tried it for a while. You just tried it. Yes, it wasn't quite suitable for the audience, but that's fine. It was the true fans who were finding the weird time Steve was online and digging it. Now there's a show. Now there's a regular schedule. Now that you've got some of those base skills down already. So it's good, man. Good to see you doing it. Yeah, getting it on it every day, like just consistency.
Yeah, and it's yeah, and we'll talk about this a little bit more because it's very difficult now. I think you got to set like the right goals for yourself in the space of social media and even like, you know, being on YouTube and things, the right expectations, and you got to keep yourself your mind right. And really, I feel like too, the way to keep going is if you really want to, you gotta keep yourself intrigued by trying to do fresh things that are different from what you normally do. Because I feel like a lot of times, for example, last year I would get in this, I wanted to be consistent, and then there were weeks where I would try to make a video and you lose a lot of passion for it because you're like, oh, this is just, it's like you're in a cycle and you're just doing things to do it. And it takes a lot of the passion out of why you even maybe started doing what you were doing in the first place. So
there's that balance between consistency and between doing something different or living the carefree artistic life and actually being disciplined and getting down and doing work is another way to balance these ones out. So would your show be better if you absolutely twice every week on that schedule did your show at those times? Yes is the answer to that, because you would build the audience. Apparently that's better to have a consistent time right on, and you would build your skills. So consistency is everything little bit by little bit. However, having said that, if you're a creator who doesn't like what they're creating, then no amount of consistency is going to save you. So there is some balance that you need to find in yourself. Yes, consistency, good. Now, you've got to ask yourself, am I slacking off too much? You could say like, oh, no, I don't need to be so, because I've got to keep the love. Well, you know, sometimes you got to push yourself as well. There's some balance in there. But if you're, I was sort of, yeah, if you don't keep the love in it, the show won't be good anyway. So I think that's a good way, a good plan that you've got.
Well, you're talking about some really cool like psychological things here, because when you make like produced content, which is not live, you control the outcome more, because if you, for example, if you are in a situation where you're not passionate about this certain project, you can easily fake that more in a produced video where you're like, I just have to get through this one little section. I'll film a bunch of B footage and just put my smiling face for 10 seconds here, and that be it. And when you're in the live show, you really do have to be more passionate. I mean, I compare it to, we talked about this last year a little bit. Remember how there was a scare, and everything you do in life prepares you for what you're doing if you're trying to learn. Last year when I coached those kids basketball team, you know, there was an hour point where I had to have those kids, and I needed to be prepared for that hour. And so I would go through it and in my mind think about how to progress through this hour, what to be doing at these times to be the most effective. Sure. And then at the end, you know, you're super nervous about it at the beginning, but at the end of the season, it's routine. You know what you're doing. Everybody's ready. Everything connects. And so that's kind of the way that this is all hopefully rolling through too. It's a lot of that same kind of processing and psychology, you know, mentally, physically, everything. It's like just the process almost. It doesn't really alter too much from the ideas that I had just, you know, through that experience.
Sure, and you've built on these fundamentals. You're learning these fundamental skills bit by bit, and now you're adding them together. The background looks great. This is good.
Yeah. So the background was fun. Yeah.
Have you had some thought about how are you going to be able to stick some shows on there in the background? Would that work?
Yeah, I mean, this one's hooked up. So I've used it before, testing Atari stuff and other things. Yeah. This one's hooked up. None of the other ones are really plugged in.
Okay. Do you think it's going to work? Like, if you did it, would it make for a cool shot, or you reckon?
The problem is it doesn't show up good.
Yeah, okay.
You know, it still just shows up like a bulb, like a light bulb behind me. So unless it's so small screen, unless it's something that's just like black background, like maybe if it was like the Super Ghouls and Ghosts title screen only or something, it would show
something
good.
To experiment
maybe.
With.
And then, so we'll see. But these all, I mean, yeah, they could be like this one works, this one works, and so most of them, all of them, pretty much work except for a couple, and so it could be done, but I don't know. And that would again cause more confusion with my power situation, right?
Oh yeah, there's gonna be some hum.
So I'm soldering too, so that's always taking up things. But they, you know, circling back around to things, it's my situation personally is obviously different from everybody else's. But like from my personal perspective, the last 6 months have been really interesting for me. I mean, because it's been 6 months since I had my whole episode where like I was in the hospital and almost, you know, I could have something, you know, if I wouldn't have gone, who knows what would have happened. Worse. You
mean your big payday from your monetized video?
Yeah, right. Exactly. So
sorry, go ahead. I'm being a shit.
But it is.
Right.
It's
so
like 6 months. And there was a 3-month period there where I was not able to do much physically. I was told to kind of take it easy. I was given this stupid medication by I call it stupid, but it was, the medical system here is very weird. And I'll probably talk about that a little bit more because I was like, some people are still commenting, how is your health? And I'm like, look at me, I'm here twice a week. Do you think if I was like keeled over and suffering, I would be doing that? But
no, you're zombified, Steve. Now.
Right.
You've been taken over by the droid bone things. The government has you.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I'm like, well, it's been 6 months from this point. But at the end of that 3-month period, I was not in a very good place, right? I felt like the least, almost close to the worst shape physically I probably was ever in. Cause I had to basically take it easy for 3 months. I couldn't even do much. And I was like, you get into these ruts with these things and you're like, I saw a scary statistic, which has said, people that have myocarditis, 50% of them on average, pass away after 5 years, are just not there. And I was like, after 3 months of feeling like this at the end of 3 months, the worst shape of my life. And then not just the 3 months. I think it was worse probably because it wasn't 3 months. It was literally the month after that was when I started to feel normal, but I was like still all this extra stuff on and couldn't really, I wasn't in like even as physical shape as I'd been before. So I kind of had to sit down and have a moment where I was like, am I going to be on the dead side of that 50% or the live side in 5 years? I know it sounds silly, but at the same time, I was like, how many opportunities? I'm 40 years old. How many opportunities am I going to have left to get myself in possibly good shape to beat this, to be there, to not have to have myself on medication, to basically give myself the best chance to be there for all kinds of reasons. I mean, obviously my family, and I feel like I know I have more to do here, or I would have been gone that day. And so it was a come to the fork in the road, right? Are you going to be this way or this way? And I thought the best chance I could do is give myself this path here where I just did what I had never done. And that's been, I've exercised every day, like since July. I mean, it's been like 9/19 today. That's exactly about 2 full months.
Wow.
Every day. And I've never been in better shape now than I'm in right now. And I've done it every day except for like, I want to say in the last 4 months, I missed 6 days where I just couldn't.
Sure.
I just
You're
couldn't
doing
do
great,
it.
but yeah.
So,
sure.
but I just knew that I was like, I saw these, I know it sounds cheesy, but remember Michael Phelps?
Sure.
The Olympic swimmer. Mm-hmm. He's talked about when he got into the cycle of being in shape and working out for the swim competitions, he would swim every single day and like never take a day off, never a single day off. Switch it up. And then I saw like Kobe Bryant, same thing. He's like, I never took a day off. It's like, I don't care if you like work 4 hours one day and then you're like 3 hours the next, then you got to take a day off. I was always better to do almost the same thing every single day. And then my body was always in the game ready shape instead of taking the day off and doing all this stuff. And that really connected with me. And I've been sticking with that and it's really been working. All my pants are too big. And so that's a good problem.
The local Goodwill is getting Steve's pants any day now.
No, they're not. I just tie them up and they like fall down as I'm like running around.
There's a old rope for belt Steve
That's
coming
it.
along.
It's like, I got to buy new clothes. I didn't want to have this problem.
So your wife loves that. Yes, my husband wears a rope around his waist. Yes. My husband could buy new clothes, yet he chooses not to. Yes.
Yeah. So I know we kind of getting off on this crazy
it's good.
experience
it's good
here, but
I want to keep talking about this. It's good.
Sure.
There was something sort of deeper there that you felt after you turned 40. You just sort of looked at yourself. Did this something that sort of just came to you eventually over time, or was there a moment where I got to clean myself up here and do something? How did you come to this?
Well, it was, yeah, it was. Well, there was this really good moment of it. So I used to do. I had to laugh like 2 or 3 years ago. Man, it's been actually probably before. It was before COVID, so it would have been like 2018 or something. I asked for the DDP Yoga, which I've joked about here. I asked for that DVD box set for my birthday gift, and I got it. And I got into it, and I did it for like 6 weeks, and then life came around, and then I just stopped, and I just pretty much never did it again. Just put it back. And I really liked it, though, and I was pretty good at it. And what had happened is basically about 5 weeks after I had done it the first time, we went to this wedding, and the people who got married they owned a yoga studio, so they were like, oh, everybody gets to do yoga together for the wedding. So I was like, well, I have to do all this damn yoga. I'm at least going to have like worked out so I know how to do it when I get in there. And I actually did, how to do it. Of course, I didn't know any of the terms because all the normal yoga terms have been like beefcaked up for wrestling, the diamond smasher, and the deadlift cock blocker. And it's
Why
like,
is Steve yelling when he does yoga?
Like, I don't know what that, they're like, oh, and yeah. So anyway. I go through that, and like I said, after that, I think we went on a couple other trips, and COVID happened, and then I just didn't stick with it. And recently, my brother came into town in June, and this, like I said, this is all town at that time. That had been 2 or 3 months ago. About this time, I was telling you when I was feeling real down. He came into town, and he is like a physical beast of a specimen. He's younger than me. He lives in Northern California. He owns a tree company, and he trims trees, and it's not like small trees. These are like California trees that are hundreds of feet up. He does the most insane things. He throws these little devices over limbs and then pulls ropes down and somehow pulls himself up by ropes, chops trees down, and then comes down. And the guy is like 0.1% body fat. Like he has like so little body fat, it's like awkward looking. Like he's got like just other like bones and muscles. It's so weird. But I saw him and his wife, they came to visit us at the lake, and they were like, oh, let's all do yoga together. And I was like, okay, I'll do it with you guys. And I got out there, and it was like the pansiest yoga session, and I couldn't do it at all. And I was like, I felt like a fat slob. I was out of breath, unable to move.
Oh, you couldn't do it because you're out of breath. Oh, I thought you meant I thought you meant you couldn't do it because you're like, I refuse to do this pussy yoga. Refuse.
Well, that was no, but that's what I was saying because I was so shitty at it. I was like, oh, this is just. If this was DDP yoga, I'd be busting ass right now. But this is, I can't really do this lower than me normal yoga shit. We got to have the, and got to pump it up. And everybody's like, Zen, peace. And so I was like, man. And I know, like, one of the times I got into a discussion with my wife, she's like, look at you, it's good for her. She called me out for being a slob and not caring, which I was at that point. I was a slob, and I wasn't. Like I said, I was at that road. What are you going to do? You're going to just keep going and being ignorant and just decide, you know what, fuck it. I don't care about exercising. I'm just going to live in the moment, enjoy things, and go down this path and just, end up being kind of a health risk or possibly this other thing. And like I said, I'd never done any exercising in my life beyond that 6 weeks. I did the DDP yoga the first time, and I thought, you know what, I'm really going to bust it this time. I'm going to try it. I'm going to do it everything I can now. And that's what it's been like the last 2 months here.
So it's multiple. So you feel like multiple things in your life converged at once. Like even knuckleheads like you and me, eventually the traffic light is what, we could see it coming. Eventually the light becomes close enough and bright enough that you've got to do something.
I think that's what's really like life is kind of about. I don't know. It's interesting to think. It's like you're stuck with choices that you can. I think we'll all look back at some point and we'll realize, dang, how important was. I don't realize how important that choice was that I made at that particular moment, but it has like shaped everything since then, right? You know, like kind of looking back, you're like, wow. So I feel like this was probably a moment for me. Like I said, I could have easily gone down a path of just becoming kind of a mess, because it's easy. I don't know about where you live, but in America, it's super easy to sit there. It's way easier to go out and eat unhealthy foods and live an unhealthy lifestyle in America than it is to live a healthy one. I mean, it really is.
Sure. And I think there's a certain amount of that everywhere, but
probably,
I think,
yeah,
particularly in
Western
America, from what I
styles.
understand, but like Western food, sure, man.
Right.
Right, it is easy to do that. Even I was thinking, do we have dinner tonight? Oh, fuck it, I'll just go buy something again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this moment comes to you, and you kind of get it together, and it continues as well. So what's also endearing that it's gone on? Tell us about the struggles of the last few months. You're doing it, right? But you don't want to do it every day.
Oh, well, that the workout thing at the so here's something that totally changed my mindset. It was around the same time period, and God bless the man, Steve Harvey, the goofy comedian, host of the I want to say Price is Right, but that's wrong. It's the no. It's the Family Feud.
Yes.
Anyway, it was some stupid YouTube clip of him saying advice or something, and he said, "I'm going to give you a way that will change your perspective and will get you to the right spot." And it said, "You need to think about things and stop telling yourself in your head that you've got to do something." And I was like, holy shit, this is right. And it's like, instead of saying, I've got to work out today, change that to, I get to work out today. Every time you think about got, change that to get. And immediately, for me, that hit me in a personal place, because, and I'll give you this is a real deep reason. One of my best friends was a superstar soccer player in high school and was a scholar athlete, very smart guy. And our freshman, he was my wife's age, a little bit older than me. When he was in college, he was in a terrible car accident, and it put him in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. And I love him to death. I still go see him. He's got the greatest, spirit and just, but at the same time, I was like, if I'm thinking about working out, I get to work out. If he wanted to work out right now, he can't just say, I get to work out. He doesn't actually get to work out anymore. So I know it sounds a little cheesy and stuff, but there was that moment like where that's connected on with, and I think that's what happens to you. You connect with something on such a personal level that it completely changed how I thought about it. And then every day I'd say, I get to work out. And now so I think I get to work out, and I enjoy it. I enjoy the way I feel about it. I've never felt better, in my life than I do now physically. So maybe in high school or something, but
sure, but
that's back when you're young and dumb and full of cum. So you got plenty of energy. So,
it's nice to hear.
I don't know.
Man.
I mean, does that kind of make a little sense there, or is that just like too cheesy over the moon?
No, I don't think it is at all. It's interesting to hear what you say, because I'm also middle-aged man dealing with all such things as well, and I know these things go in ups and downs, and I wouldn't say like, oh, I'm down or something, but I'm probably on the lower end of the roller coaster right now, and I don't know what it is. It's just I have so many things to do that I want to do that I'm not doing anything. And it's very hard. Like, I don't want to leave behind making retro video games. I don't want to be that guy who doesn't make his YouTube channel more because his life got in the way. Now, I know it's all finite time, and we've got to prioritize that sort of stuff, but I still want to do it so badly. But then I kind of wear myself out and don't have enough time to do everything. And that's why I'd never do a live stream on my own. I don't know. I'm always like retreating inside of myself here. But it's been slower for me recently, and yeah, like we were saying, there's a strain of legal weed that has become legal again where I live temporarily, and it's not doing me good. And this is actually very, very interesting to look at addiction, and when you try to stop for a while, and then you start thinking like, the good old days. The good old days of when I was doing that all the time. Maybe I should have a go. And like, I can feel the difference. I'm slower, more lethargic. Hasn't helped me that I'm, so I got to pull it back together again. And it takes time, man. Yeah, I don't know. You think like, I'm getting somewhere. Then you pull back. So your message is good to hear, Steve. Just keep on going. Just trying, because I try things for a while, and then I kind of get overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And I'm the one who tells you on every one of these episodes, consistency. So I'm the ultimate coach who knows the right thing to do but can't do it. So I was exercising a bit as well and pulling myself, but then I end up all weekend drinking again. Went around to my mate's house, so we're smoking, and I'm like, I want to see my mates, but this is not a good influence. But when it's there, I have zero ability to stop. We're there, we're sitting around on a Saturday night. There's the bong.
Yeah.
Of legal stuff. No chance. Zero chance. So I've got to like take myself out of those situations. So I mostly have, thankfully, in my life, and it's not around. But
yeah, I think that you're. Again, when you're trying to do, I feel like that is natural when you're trying to do things on social media or YouTube or anything. It's like you said, you want to have this idea of consistency, but at the same time, consistency can take you to that bad place we just talked about of pushing yourself into that burnout because you want to remain consistent instead of, and I'll give you credit for this because I have always felt too that you've been like very, like, what are you doing on different things I've been trying, and then it's like, it's like, well, I'm really glad you're not concerned with, which we always talk about this, like views and view count success as being like the ultimate matrix or metric. I'm sorry, not matrix, but metric for success, which it is not the metric that I'm going by, and I think that we've always talked about that's the good thing. But the idea of trying to be consistent, and then like where in your situation you've had a lot of other things going on in real life now, and then you have an idea for a video, things happen, that video gets pushed on hold, and you feel like sometimes maybe that the effort, you're like, wow, I put like actually some really good thought into that idea, and now I'm not really inspired to make that video anymore. Maybe you think about the next thing, and that cycle can happen too, and then you get yourself down because you're like, look at all these projects I haven't done. And so it's a hard thing, on both ends of it to I don't know, consider that,
I suspect a little bit more planning could help me, but like on one hand, it sounds like the junkie saying, if I just have another hit, I'll be better. More planning will help me. More work will help me. It's not necessarily the answer, but there could be some truth in the, rather than so much as just saying, I need to work more. This is not it. I don't have any goals. I kind of have these broad goals, but I don't really, I've started, like, it's got to start there, I think. Like, what's my goal? Do well at this job. If I really do well at this job over the next 5 years, I think, this is going to turn into a good money earner and a good valuable part of my career. But I don't even know what I'm doing in the next 3 months or something, going along with things. And some thought about that a little bit. Like, how is it possible that I could make it says retro video once every 6 weeks, maybe, and set the expectation there's one every 6 weeks, and then schedule that in and say this week I'm sort of doing it, or make a different agreement with myself. Maybe that's it. I keep thinking like, I've got to get back to this routine. And I should be mentally making an agreement once every 6 weeks. Here's what you need to do. You're going to devote 8 hours. You can make a video in 8 hours. and you're going to do that once every 6 weeks, and therefore you produce something, and at least you're producing something. Because as soon as I make something, then I'm like, oh, I should make it again. I should do more. Why don't I? And then I get burnt out from it, and then I don't like doing that thing anymore. And then I feel like I've got so many things that I want to do. Because with my work, it's very interesting. I'm working with a boss. So for 10 years, I've been my own boss. For 10 years, I've been the head of my stand-up comedy production company. And, you know, I listen to people, but still, there's kind of still no one above me at the end of the day. Where it's very good now to work with, to not be the CEO. I really like that. I really like I don't have to think about the company. And even this week, he came to me and he's like, yo, I'm kind of guessing you don't want to do sales so much. And I was like, I think you might be right. So I haven't been following up. I haven't been, you know, sending the emails. I haven't been doing that. I got burned out with that, like trying to do that. And looking around and going, okay, our company needs sales. I'll try and do sales. And then just sort of getting burnt out with this process, and that's not me. So I think I'm a bit kind of burnt out from pushing myself into something. Because then I was asking my boss, though, like, well, where's the discipline you've got to push yourself? And then there's at some point understanding, no, this isn't for me. So actually what is very nice about the company I work for, Combat Ready, is he's kind of saying to me now, well, what else do you want to do? You know, there's loads of stuff to do. You know what to do. What do you want to do else? And we've got a lot of content to make. We've got a lot more. So I'm actually feeling a lot better. I don't necessarily have to have the guilt of having done all these sales calls and done 10 cold calls every day and shit like that.
Yeah.
But actually, I could be oriented more about actually just making content. And I really like that idea. So I'm already doing a lot of podcasts with them. Podcasts make clips, you know how it works, and we go from there. So actually that I could make my job more formally about making the content side is quite exciting for me. So that was nice as well, man, to like have to know that you've got a boss and a mentor could come to you and say, hey man, like I could tell maybe there's, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry to let you down, boss. You know, like you gave me a job and I didn't do it very well. And he's like, no. He sees it like he's got to like I'm better at making content, so I should go and make content. Yeah. So this is nice.
That's good.
And nice to have those people around me to help me because I'll just try and solve a problem on my own. So yeah, I think I'm all right, man. I'm going to stay off the fucking unorganic wacky tobacco. That stuff's not good. And just get back on the horse, eh? That's all you can do.
I think you'll feel better after getting one done. I think also there's something to be said. There's absolutely nothing wrong with like stepping back and taking a break. Yeah. And, you know, as smaller creators here on YouTube, there's no reason we shouldn't stop and take a break sometimes and make sure that we are mentally okay.
I think so. I think for me, it's like it's about finding a workable routine because then you take a break. No, because I have this fear, let's say. The fear that's gnawing at me is I'll take a break and then you never come back from that break. And
like you think you're afraid that you just take the break and never do it again?
That you get used to the easy life without having to do the hard work of content creation. Where first of all, you get to do content creation.
Right, yeah, there you go. There you go. So you got to think about it like that. So first off, just change got to get, okay?
This is good.
And but that kind of goes back to what sometimes you do have to stop and say, what was I making content creation for to begin with? I can just again tell a little bit personally, but I never made my first video to think, oh man, one day I'm going to be a freaking retro or a YouTube all star. What really happened is, I realized that there was nobody making information on this certain topic to begin with. And I was being pestered, off my social media posts about fixing something on how to do things. And I just thought it would be an easy way to document that instead of saying, somebody said, "Well, how do I fix my screen tilt on my yoke?" Well, here's a 3-minute video. Take it and just
So
watch
you
it.
wanted at first just to shut people up as a
Just
better
to help,
way
right?
to
Just
get
to,
your
like-
stuff out there. Was there any thought, like even like no one thinks at first they're going to make money, but we're like,
Right.
oh, maybe this could become a revenue stream one day. Was that sort of ever?
Yeah, so, well, it was interesting because since that I made the video that nobody had made topics on, and I shared it in a place where there were some people interested, the first couple of videos got a couple hundred views, pretty quickly. And then I want to say my channel got to, it wasn't long before I could just make 3-minute videos and it would just be growing, right? I mean, it's just the early days. You're not monetized or anything. It was a quick growth to 1,000 subscribers. I don't even remember how long it took, but it wasn't very long. Like, it was just, again, a void was there. Sure. This was like, now you go and type in YouTube CRT stuff, you'll get hundreds of channels.
Oh,
back
the
then,
phonies have come along, not the OG.
But I mean, like back in the day, it was a Phone Dork and RGB Rob were like the only two people who'd made a lot of CRT content. So shout out to the
RGB
other
Bob's
Australian.
been there since day one.
RGB Rob. So he's been there. So
you found that's nice. So you found that niche, and that was your thing, and you were
right.
able to.
And then the ideas start going. Oh, well, what if this takes off, and I end up like one of these other channels that actually can. There's always that temptation, and then. But then you're playing this weird thing where you become a horse chasing YouTube's carrot, because you get a slight taste of success in something.
Sure.
And this isn't just the case on this platform, because I've talked to people who will make content on other platforms like TikTok and things, and they'll be like, man, I'll do one thing and it gets like 2 million views, and then everything else gets like a couple thousand. And I'm like, what do I do to recapture that one moment? I'm like,
it's not even your analogy was a horse chasing a carrot. I don't think that's even the situation. It's a horse chasing a carrot that's hidden behind some grass that you never see, and then the carrot keeps moving, but you don't see how it's
there
moving.
Might be a carrot. Yeah,
scenes.
it's like there might be a carrot there. It's like, yeah, you're the horse. You run out to a big giant field of grass, and there's a carrot 100 yards from you. You get all the way up there, and you realize, oh crap, it's actually 200 yards that way, right?
And occasionally, very occasionally, you see some guy, he gets a fucking pile of carrots. All right, so one guy just gets this huge pile, and we all go, where's our pile of carrots? And he gets no other carrots for the rest of his days. But it's the true American dream. I might strike it rich.
Exactly. And that's kind of the scary thing that's embedded in the children of now. YouTube's the number one it's beaten TV for viewers now. YouTube's the number one spot. Everybody wants to be on YouTube. When they're kids, that's what they want to be, and it's a scary thing, because you realize it's not what it's cracked up to be all the time. There's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of it's not an uncommon situation for
showbiz,
for creators to struggle with confidence, mental health issues.
Absolutely. And in fairness, though, that's all showbiz, and it may have amplified some of these things, don't get me wrong, but these ideas of abuse, mental health, pushing oneself, not believing or having the little voice that tells you you're wrong and shit like that. Welcome to being an artist. That's how these things are. So it's tough out there, though. But
yeah, I always think, like, we are fortunate because we have a platform, whereas some of the greatest artists throughout time, their art was never appreciated when they were alive. They spent their whole lives in poverty, and now there are people that will sit around, hoity-toity, on my yacht, I will trade this man's painting for $1.2 billion, Fred. Oh, thank you, John. I will take that and put it in my vault. So now you've got these, pompous, rich assholes playing with your creations after your life, and then you're completely misunderstood in your own time. Whereas here, at least we have an outlet to go, hey, view me if you want.
Renaissance man Steve Nutter. And commenting on the legacy of his artwork. Now, Steve, would you...
I don't even know where the hell we've gone on this conversation. This
now,
has
would
been
you
the most
rather
insane episode ever, I think.
Would you rather have adoring fans in your lifetime,
Right.
or you can go on to be a legend for the span of humanity, but you don't get to see any of that shit? Which one would you like to be your legacy, Steve? Do you want the kids in 100 years to be...
I don't care. Like, I know that once I'm out of this Steve suit that I'm in,
right,
which is what happens to everybody in this place, we eventually keel over. What difference? Yeah, what difference would it make? I don't care if I'm in the great beyond and I look back and there's like some Renaissance period of success for Steve. It's like, unless it's like benefit my children.
Yeah,
does
your family know about this attitude? All right.
That's good.
No,
that's
I don't give
the
a
one strong
fuck
thing.
about the future. Future can go suck it. Don't care what happens after I'm
dead. It's undetermined,
dead.
Lewis.
Yeah,
it's all about the now.
That's why he says it in the basement where his family can't hear him.
Yeah. No. I mean, the interesting thing is, I think that we all have that possibility, because what's going to happen 300 years from now if there's no CRTs in existence, and it's just like, oh, well, we have 8,000 hours of footage of this guy working on CRTs to sift through to see what they were like. I don't know. Then does it matter? Might be something.
I ask you a riddle. If a flat panel falls in the forest and nobody's ever heard of what a CRT is it still a bad signal? In future years, future generations, maybe they've never seen a CRT and they're like, wow, this LCD is pretty fine. How will the kids know?
I just can't imagine. The interesting thing is how people don't even know. Most people probably don't even know that the only way an electron was discovered was through the first CRT, right? People don't even know that. Like, we wouldn't even know about atomic theory without the first CRTs being built in the 1870s and 80s. And the idea that, whoa, what the hell was that thing? What was a CRT? It was around 150 years. Our whole scientific culture is based upon it. And it's just like something that's forgotten. You know what I consider it similar to, Lewis?
Yes,
You go around these amazing old cities and you see this grand, beautiful architecture that has lasted hundreds of years. And you ask the most genius modern architect, how do we recreate that building? I don't know. We can't do that shit anymore. That's the same thing with a CRT, right? So is that what they're going to do? They're going to say, I don't know how we know what an electron is. We just do. It's like, okay. Or now it's like an electron microscope sees it, so we just forgot how we got to that point.
In the end, Steve, there will only be one man with the knowledge, one man who will bring us back from the brink, just when we thought all knowledge has lost. And I quote Steve Nutter here, whole scientific culture is based on CRTs. That is a quote you can take to the bank, ladies and gentlemen. The whole scientific, I like to put an and in there, the whole scientific and cultural existence of the world can be traced back to the CRT. And why the hell don't you young people know about it? How can you? I am endlessly amused by this idea, which I'm only understanding now. Like whatever the next generation, the young kids now, they know computers less than our generation, which is hilarious because it was always in every generation the kids knowing more and more. You know, our generation we knew more than our parents or our other kids are the whiz bangs. What I'm hearing is that like these new kids, they've got pads, everything's a touch screen. They don't know shit about how these actual computers work. And that's the way that we were all more hardcore than our parents until somehow our children are not punks anymore. They're not more hardcore than we were.
It used to be cool to be anti-establishment, whatever that meant. You know? Yeah. It was always like that was the coolest group of kids. And then everything now is like political, politics. And it's like never never just Rage Against the Machine. That all died. I don't know what happened. And it was a good...
well, they didn't die.
Put a good balance it. Well, I know. I meant like whatever. The cultural things.
They're all fucking dead.
You know what it was? They got rid of the CRT. They adopted the LCD, and that's when culture went down. We had good things for 125 years. They just had to forget it. Actually, we had a good question before we get out of here. Sure. I know we put out a tweet.
Oh, yeah.
Or, before. Yes. And there were some good questions on there.
Okay, yes.
Let's
go. We'll put a timestamp so people can get to the questions.
Let's pull this post up and see what it says. And I'll find it here under... Because I know I shared it a few days ago, and there were some people that...
Yes, thank you for that.
...responded to it. If I can find
I was, yes. and look, you know what I was going to say? Good on you, Steve, for calling me out and saying that I was hungover on Twitter. No, but it was good because I was like, you know what? Fuck, he's right. We didn't make a podcast because I was a hangover. You got to take your friends to call you out. It's important.
Yeah, see?
Good
important. Friends. Show me a guy's friends and I'll show you his future. That's always been another one. All right, let me get up here and see if I could share this screen and we'll go through some of these.
Whole scientific culture. Sorry, go ahead. Yes.
We'll see about this. Here we go. All right. Popping them up here. First, our friend Koala Koa. This is a good one. What would be needed to remake tubes? And can a new company automate the process using today's technology? If you had such a company, man, this is such a deep question. How would you make, or would you design your perfect PVM?
I know exactly how we can get YouTubes from Koala, and it'll take you 200 million.
Oh, that was actually a conservative view, or is that what your dollar figure? I was thinking it was like going to be, yeah, you would at least need like 500 million to probably
at least
get
500. Okay.
I mean, think about it. You would need, so even if this was a possibility, which unfortunately most likely will never happen unless the government needs it for some reason. You have to somehow go out, and you're going to need to find people that know how to have any knowledge of this left. So you would be lucky if you went around the world and you found 10 people that knew how to do this still, and they're probably all in their 80s at this point. You got them together, you picked their brain, and you needed to get all the information on how to blow the tube. And let's say you got lucky and you actually got a good design for your tube. If you got all that passed... You'd have to find an area that would let you set up a facility in their country that involved toxic waste production, okay? Because you still have to use lead in these tubes to pressurize them and to do all this. So that's a problem, and that's, again, you're going to have to bribe some officials. So that's where that money's coming in.
That's it.
You're going to have to do, if you're lucky. And you're going to end up in not a Western country, probably. No one wants to manufacture these things. So
I think it might also be a little bit... To just sort of say it'll be expensive is a little bit also, right, it's going to take 200 million. It's going to take, okay, with the knowledge, right? To just say like, oh, we don't have the knowledge anymore. And I was joking, there'll be one guy left and he'll do it. But it's not just like, oh yeah, we know how to make CRTs. Like we know the technology, right? But that bleeding edge hasn't been constructed for 15 years now or something, or that bleeding edge. So there's that. They can still lose the deep knowledge. Those guys who are the main Trinitron scientists in Sony Japan, working day in, day out to improve the Trinitron, these guys haven't thought of CRTs for the last 15 years. So yes, we still know how to make, we probably got all the docs, no doubt. There's probably all the research still there. But to take that stored knowledge, even from Sony archives, and then make that at scale again... I always think, like, I could find 200 million. I'm not sure, it's 200 million just to make the factory, let's say, of that scale. Then it's to retrain the people to make them again. I think that knowledge is... Right.
And that's another thing. It would have to be somewhat modernized. It can't just be these old style things. You have to, you're not... We've left that technology behind, so we're left, it took so long to get the technology to the point it was. It took 100 years to get it from the point where it was literally just showing a image on a piece of glass that was like an X to the HD tubes that were left at the end of the lifespan That's over 100 years of technology developing with the smartest engineers in the world working on it. It takes a while to get that back up. You'd have to have a real desire, and you'd have to have some kind of way of modernizing it to where it's like, oh my gosh, we can actually make a CRT look better than an OLED, and we have figured out a process to make it flatter, or not flatter, but thinner, and all kinds of these dream scenarios that, like you say, a dream PVM would be as light as a LCD and have the same functionality of a tube now.
Okay, let's do this. Let's have fun. I want to hear, let's have a dream PVMs. They've got to at least be like real things in it. Like, you can't just be like, oh, I've got the magical thing that makes it do that, makes it super thin. Like, it's got to be reasonable. Like, what are all the features that you would like? The size, the style.
Right.
What would you?
So I would. I know one thing. There's a couple things that I would have to keep on them always that I feel like modern things have done away with. And the first thing I have to keep is the aesthetics kind of that PVM style. So, you know, I would sit there and I would fight tooth and claw with development people and project managers who say, oh, we need less buttons and knobs on this thing. Kiss my ass. We need more buttons, more knobs, more fun diddly shit on this thing. So that's because that's like, I hate getting in a new car and I'm like, what the hell is this? You push one button and it's like all buttons everywhere. It's like fussing around with an iPad. It's like, it makes me feel stupid. That's another
real
funny
buttons.
Thing. Yeah, it's not like
okay, so lots of real buttons. The aesthetic,
I get in my 90s Mercury here, and I got 100 buttons to change just the temperature. Right? So it's like, again, crotchety old man.
Your voice work is improving. It's good, Steve.
I want to keep the buttons. I want to keep the aesthetics. I want to, you know, all that key elements to it. And I feel like that's super important. The one thing I would like vastly improve would be like the input board. Think about how fun that would be. Like your magical best combination of inputs would be awesome to set up.
So some sort of nice BVM, a nice range of cards, a nice to not like even your retro tinks are beautiful devices, but external. So maybe the ultimate BVM could have the 4K tink built in somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
And have more shit built in or just talk to us. It seems like Shank has already built a PCB to internalize every console. It seems like every week Shank's made a new PCB to like put a console inside of a BVM with an input card. This guy's nuts.
Yeah, you're right. So the perfect PVM, I think you could do this too. You could say, for me, I have no desire, or
none.
Let's say not no desire, but the widescreen effect is not as important to me. I'd actually prefer to keep them in a 4x3.
4:3. Okay.
And then I would max out. I would say all this thing does is 240p to 480p, right? Like that would be perfect, right? Mm-hmm. Just that would be the sweet spot, because there's no point. Then you maybe make a widescreen version for a specialty thing. That would be cool too. But I think that like my perfect one would just be 4x3 and do that range of videos and have inputs and outputs for every single one. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'd want to have a SCART input in there. I'd want to have a VGA. Mm-hmm. I'd want to have ins and outs for RGB component, 2 of them, just like the medical units. Mm-hmm. And, why not 2 composite ins and outs, 2 SVU
wait,
ins
speakers?
and outs.
Do you have speakers internally in this or not?
You know, that would probably be good. Yeah, I didn't even think about speakers, but if space, you know,
you can't get the cube.
Gosh, I don't know. I don't know that speakers are that important, right? Because it's like I think the dedication here, and that's something that's like in the BVM. Speakers are never really that important. You should really get the better experience by going outside of that setup. So, but I don't know. What do you think?
Something that I would like something that can help me make a CRT photo wall. Some device Like, so my point is the perfect PVM for me might also be somehow that there's a splitter box and it can do it easy and it can split them up and make a photo wall with, like, imagine your wall behind you, but all of that was feeding from one box and it was auto splitting the signal. That'd look rad.
There actually is stuff like that, but
I thought it only worked in like HDMI zones, not.
No, it's still in for old school video walls, but I don't have any of them. I need to talk to the guy at the museum. He could probably send me something cool that he's got.
All right, what else we got here?
Yeah, okay.
Obscure or undocumented PVM knowledge.
So this is like, again, that Watchmen series I've been doing. So I talked a little bit about this yesterday.
I'm just going to the toilet. Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. So some undocumented knowledge. Sony never puts whether a capacitor is bipolar or regular polarity, meaning it has a positive and negative end. They will never state that in a service manual. And they'll also never give you anything really detailed on your capacitor value, because if you go to a website to order capacitors, there's all different grades and ratings for the capacitors. There's some that are lower impedance, and there's all kinds of different things on there, and this kind of information is just not posted generally in their service manual. You will simply see a voltage rating and a capacitance rating, and I always recommend, for example, if you're going through working on some Sony product, here's a BVM board. There's plenty of caps on here that are bipolar. None of them are marked as bipolar in the manual. So you have to go through and look at the card itself or the device itself when you check that to make sure that you know what you're actually looking at, and don't just go by what Sony says in their manuals, because it doesn't say everything you need. There you go. Back from the toilet. Let's move to the next question.
Why salted licorice isn't a thing in the States? Fucking mind.
Nobody, dude, like, most people think licorice is gross. Other than that like, normal, what is it? Twizzler. Other than the Twizzlers, nobody cares. Red vines, maybe a little. Nobody wants that stuff. I mean, even like black licorice is disgusting to me, but
it's disgusting to
I know
you.
that
good. I'm glad
Martin likes this stuff, but this is just weirdo Denmark
those Danish
stuff.
people,
right?
they eat fermented whales. Is that Denmark? I don't care if it is or not. And they're just strange. They grew up in no dark,
I know. I was talking to Bob at the convention, and he had this really fancy case for his BVM D9. I was like, where the hell did you get that box for, travel case? He's like, oh, Martin shipped me that, and it was filled with beer from his homeland. I was like, what? How did he even do that? And then he was like, yeah, and it was only like $30 to ship it. And I was like, that crazy bastard, he's got something going on, which is why I hope he could actually secure a B&O CRT for me and get it shipped. So he thinks he could do it from his factory for like for $400 or something. I'm like, dude, I will do that. Absolutely.
Sure, from Denmark to
you.
That's
I just want to see what happens when some guy shows up at my house with like a palletized B&O from Denmark. What the hell does that look like?
Yeah, hello. We have the Danish Bank and all of that.
Yeah, I'm sure it's some guy.
Where do you want it?
Hans is France. Oh, you pussy American. We come here to pump you up. Now, come on, we're going to lift this BMO television up into your puny little American house and set it up for you. You and your flat screens, your puny little, 2 centimeter thick. Oh, that's so thick. Oh, yeah.
Did you pay for it with your money, capitalism, boy? Now I'm Jamaican for some reason.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, we're going to get out of that. Good on you. All right, the rest of them were... Belmont said had some cringe CRT sales listings. I haven't seen any of those. I haven't actually been looking for those in a while, but I'm sure they're out there. And
I found one.
Good.
There was there's a 16:9 Sony Trinitron, but it's 2 hours away, and the guy says, like, he can't get it to turn on, and he's like, maybe it's he doesn't have the remote. Maybe it's the remote. And I'm like, if it worked, I think I would go for the trip, but not for this, like, oh, I don't know what's going on. So close, but so far.
Yeah, I was actually messaging back and forth with Roger about, or the 8-Bit Esquire about a CRT I found. It's like 30 minutes from here, and it's a 29-inch, and it's, goodness, I can't remember what the brand is. It's like a Panasonic, but it does like 480p, and it's 4x3, and it's one of those almost NEC style looking, Mitsubishi looking. Yeah, and it does 240p, it does that. But it's listed as not working. He wants $150. I'm like, man, my shop is full of crap right now, and I know I'd regret not getting this, but at the same time, this could be a giant boat anchor. What if the tube's fried? It's like, okay, can I come hook my tube tester up to your CRT in your place? So he was like, did you get that yet? And I'm like, no.
How far away? How long was the drive?
It's not even that far. It's only like 30-minute drive
but
from
still,
me.
Okay.
But it's, it would be moving a heavy-ass TV.
Sure. You've got live streams to do, man.
Yeah.
We got a schedule.
And I already got some big-ass TV up there from a Patreon member. It's a damn 36-inch Trinitron 4x3 beast. It's on a flight case. That's where it's sitting, and it's so big that like 10% of the CRT hangs over on each side.
Oh my
it's
God.
like so big, and it's got to weigh 300 pounds, or not that much, but 200 pounds.
Could you ever imagine a way that somehow you would get like a service lift in your house for the CRT, so you could just put them
just like that? I'll go get an engine hoist. I'll
Something
go get an engine block hoist.
That's the redneck version, bro. You just just through the hole
I
in
go
the
find
floor,
that around here.
make a big hole in the floor, and then just winch it down.
Oh man, yeah, I'd be like Mad Max.
Sure.
The Mad Max CRT Thunderdome.
Yeah.
Come on in.
So it's hard to get these things up and down the stairs, man. I don't even know what I'm ever going to do. I'm on the 5th floor, and I'm never hauling. Like, I want to collect them and put in my storage room, but, like, I'm just collecting for my house. That might happen. Who knows when, right? Like, I'm putting them all away because
How many storage units do you have?
Just the one.
How much do you pay a month?
Container. I pay 80 plus tax. So
that's
about
exactly.
85 or something.
You get one full shipping container for $80?
Yeah.
Fuck. I get 5 by like 10 slot in a storage for $80.
How much is that of a half or a quarter, or what do you reckon?
Quarter what?
Of a
5
shipping
foot.
container.
5 foot by 10.
I don't know your freedom amounts.
What the fuck? You could fit like 6 of those in a single shipping container.
I don't know what a 5 and a 10 of what? Of your capitalism
5
units.
foot, yeah, like 1 meter by 1 meter by 2 meters or something.
Okay, 1 meter by 2 meters. Thank you.
Maybe 2 meters by 3 meters. It doesn't matter. It's insignificant compared to the size of a sea container or a shipping container.
This place is pretty good. Good value.
Yeah.
It's like not quite in the center of town, but not far away at all. So yeah, I just gotta. And also, my one is a little bit cheaper because it's not on the ground floor. There's those movable stairs, and you just roll the movable stairs up. So I take off probably at least 20 or 30 a month for that, but I can't just roll shit in. So that seems like too much.
I get to
pay.
basically drive stuff directly up to my unit, and it's indoors. Like I pull up this garage to go in.
That's indoors.
And but yeah, it's not a good deal. And I've already filled it up, and it's already just full. It's got like stacks. Like 30. I don't even remember what's in there. Like somebody was like, "Can I buy this?" I'm like, I have some somewhere, but I don't know where it is.
You got to get that second place, so you've got a place, the CRT storage.
Well, what I want to do is go just buy a sea container and throw it in the backyard.
Oh, I'm sure your wife will love it. She can't wait.
I know. My dad's like, we'll just take this flatness and put a sea container right here. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm sure that everybody would love seeing that. It's a city. You could like do anything just about. Like if you got it up here, and nobody's gonna give you shit about it for some reason. This place has the weirdest jurisdictions.
Or you could
you could probably cover it in dirt, make it like a dirt mound, dirt house. So then
You
it's
could,
insulated.
You could paint it in some sort of RetroTech USA colors and advertise to every
Gosh, and it
criminal
gets,
in your
like, the
area.
bird shit all over it, and just
Yeah.
the
I've got
squirrels.
big old expensive CRTs in here.
That's
Please come
what
and
would
rob
happen
me.
is the squirrels would break into it and chew all that shit up because the squirrels out there are like
Yeah.
are feisty.
They're not
just
sealed. They can
rough.
get into a shipping container. Jesus.
They probably would chew through the son of a gun. I don't know, man. They're pretty nuts. Follow a rat.
All those dangerous animals in America. Yeah, I know.
All right, man. Well, look at this. We got ourselves a good hour, didn't we?
It's good, man. Thank you, everyone, for appreciate this. This is one for the fans, we might say, this episode, where it's just us talking about what we do. We thank you very much for listening to two guys just talk. Steve, you're looking well, and I'm looking forward to seeing 2 episodes on schedule every week, Monday, Thursday.
Well, the bad thing is actually I'm out of town this Thursday, so I won't be taping. But this show could we could put this
We'll
in
go
that
this slot,
spot,
yeah.
and then I'm going to tell everybody at that time period to come over
That's really
and
good.
watch, and then there
see.
will be a show.
What
for
is that,
everybody.
Thursday?
This Thursday.
All right, we'll
this
see.
Thursday.
Okay. I
Not,
think we
we'll
can
try
get
to
it out
if
by
you do
then.
that. Yeah, so we'll see.
Appreciate that.
I'm going to
Thank
put
you,
this
everyone.
pressure on you.
Yeah.
So
I'll
you either see whether Lewis succeeded or not. I'm sure you did. Thank you, Lewis. You did great.
Thank you very
awesome.
much, everyone. See you next time.